I am Representative Buzz Brockway. I'm the vice chair of the committee. Chairman Carter unfortunately had a prior commitment that she could not attend today. So here, let me start off with a couple ground rules. And this is the schedule for this meeting today that Chairman Carter has requested and has been laid out and hopefully has been communicated to all the folks who are going to be addressing us here today. We've got two bills on the agenda today. We've got Senate Bill 270, and then we have House Resolution 1330. Those are the bills that are the measures that are on the agenda for us today. What we're going to do, that Chairman Carter has asked that we do, we will allow 10 minutes of comments from the members of the House DeKalb delegation of the House, and and after that, we will take a couple minutes from other members of the DeKalb delegation. So we'll make that about 15 minutes total from the DeKalb delegation. Okay. Then we will hear from the three authors of the bills pertaining to cities. We obviously will hear from Senator Fran Miller on Senate Bill 270. We will also hear from Representative Mitchell with the Tucker bill and Representative Oliver with the Briarcliff bill. And we'll ask that those presentations, they're really sort of closing arguments, we'll ask that those presentations be 5 minutes long. And at that time, the committee will consider what it's going to do on Senate Bill 270. And after we deal with Senate Bill 270, then Representative Mosby will get with your measure. So that's how we're going to. And just to clarify, each one of the city bills has had an hour of testimony for it and against it. So at this particular meeting, we're not going to be taking commentary from general members of the public. We had those hearings set aside to deal with those issues. At this point, we're going to be hearing from the authors of the bills, and I hope that everyone will respect that, and hopefully we'll have a nice, friendly discussion on this very, very important matter to all of you folks who live in these various areas of DeKalb County. So probably what we ought to do is get started with a word of prayer, get this meeting off on the right foot. Representative Williamson, would you say a quick prayer for us, sir?
Be happy to. Let's pray. Gracious Father, Lord, we just ask for your wisdom and guidance. We pray for the families that are affected in this decision making, Lord, and we just pray that you bless the state of Georgia in this process. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. At this time, we'll go ahead and hear first from members of the DeKalb delegation. So Representative Henson and any of you who wish to be heard, and I will ask you to give us 10 minutes on that, if you would, please. Yes, ma'am.
We are going to stick to the 10 minutes on behalf of the delegation. Our vice chair, Michelle Henson, went out based on the fact she spoke with the chairman that we would be last in the closing argument.
Oh, okay, you want to go? All right, that's fine. That's fine. All right, well, what we'll do then is begin hearing from the authors of the bill, of the three bills. And Representative Oliver, would you like to give us a closing argument on what number are you, ma'am? All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this opportunity, and thank all the committee leadership for their patience in relation to the several one-hour hearings that we had on behalf of Briarcliff, Tucker, and Lakeside. I'm going to ask Craig at this time to hand out the complete Briarcliff bill. There also is a complete Tucker bill. And I think that the committee should be aware that all three cities have developed in significant detail city charters, city districts, and process of election. My House District 82 includes parts of the city of Decatur, parts of Brookhaven, parts of Chamblee, and on the near western border, city of Atlanta, and on the near eastern border, Avondale. Every precinct in my district has been subject to either the Lakeside or the Briarcliff or the Tucker map. Not one time in this entire process has the author of the Lakeside Bill come to me and suggested a conversation about the boundaries in my district, nor has any of the leaders of the Lakeside community ever come to me and said, let's sit down and talk about the boundaries of your district. I feel a little bit in a position where my loyalty to existing cities, which are an important part of the economic viability of DeKalb County, is a little bit tested in this process for proposed cities that do not have the economic interest of my existing cities or the economic interest of the rest of the county at heart. The biggest institutional constituent, of course, is Emory, which is a $3 to $4 billion entity and has its own interests that are appropriate for it to have, and it's very hard to assist them in planning. The reality is, in my view, that folks inside the perimeter, Briarcliff and Lakeside primarily, have had a very difficult time making a plan together. I have suggested publicly a mediation. I had folks agreeing to a mediation in the public, and I don't believe that that mediation has ever happened. I don't believe that there has been a sufficient amount of goodwill between the potential neighbors, goodwill, fair efforts made by the neighbors within the perimeter, and I think we need to be mindful. One of the things that many years has told me down here is that we should be thoughtful in many ways, in many days, that perhaps our primary duty in serving our constituents is to do no harm. And I really feel that in this unprecedented territory that we are today, of having no process to determine the new city proposals with overlapping borders, that we have the potential of doing harm. Brookhaven passed by 54% on a promise. I use Brookhaven as an example because it may or may not be a fair example. And Mr. Chairman, wave when I've used my 5 minutes. I will stop instantly when you wave.
You're 3.5.
Thank you. I'll use Brookhaven just as an example. It promised it would not take Century City into its new borders when it was created as a new city. It had been a city about 15 minutes, and it acquired Century City into its borders by the 100% method, and then proceeded to be in litigation with Chamblee as a referendum was ongoing for the voters, citizens of Chamblee, to choose to be in Chamblee rather than
minute,
Brookhaven.
Representative.
I use that as an example of the potential downfalls that come when you have this kind of conflict over borders. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to support Briarcliff, but I will tell you that this is a very unmanageable, unsustainable dynamic that we have put forward in this committee at this point, where we have the potential, I fear, of doing some real harm to a county that doesn't need further harm done. Am I right on time, Mr. Chairman?
You got 30 seconds left. You're doing great.
Well, then let me say this. Thank you for everyone that has come today. And the good news, and I've said this before, is that there is a level of engagement going on now that needs to continue for us to do the right thing for our constituents.
Thank you, ma'am. Representative Mitchell, would you like to come forward and we have a couple lights. Did somebody have questions for Representative Oliver? No? Okay. Representative Mitchell, let me get your mic on there, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
All right,
Chair.
sir.
And
when you're ready.
thank you, Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the committee. Good to be before you at this stage as we talk about the city of Tucker. I want you to pay heed to Representative Oliver's comments in that we've had some proponents of some proposals who did not meet with her, certainly not the case with the proposal that I am leading here. Before I really say anything else, I want to invite you all to the annual Tucker Chili Cook-Off, which will be this Saturday from 1 to 5 p.m. If that doesn't fit your fancy, certainly you can come to the Tucker Ride. It's their weekly 42-mile ride, bicycle ride. You can come to the Tucker Day annual celebration, or the monthly Tucker Cruise-In, and of course the annual Taste of Tucker. I just want to emphasize to you that unlike the other proposals that are before this committee, we're not trying to create a community. It is obvious that in Tucker one already exists. We're just trying to formalize that process. Fact of the matter is, as most of you here know, I did an informal survey of just about all of you here, and invariably the first reaction to my proposal on cityhood was, I thought Tucker was already a city. With that, I will ask that you, without delay, pass this bill. Tucker, in and of itself, let's move it expediently and get on with the interest of the community, because truly in the Tucker proposal, it is a community of interest. You can most certainly drive today down 285 and get off at the Tucker exit. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee.
You have another 3 minutes, Representative. If you
I think
anything else to add?
I think I've talked to each and every one of you individually so much about this. I think you know the point of view we're going. Thank
Any
you so
questions
much.
for Representative Mitchell? Number 12, is that
Thank you, Mr.
Representative?
Chairman.
Mr. Chair, could I cede my minutes to
I
no,
have a
sir.
question for the representative.
Yes.
Representative Mitchell, did you vote for Brookhaven?
Be quite candid with you, I don't recall, but I can almost certainly say that I probably
Actually,
did not.
You did
I
not.
did not.
You
yeah,
did not.
Right. But I will tell you this, Representative Jones, the fact of the matter is, I do believe that that issue is so different, dramatically different from this issue, in that this is truly a community of interest. This is one that I thought that was planned very well. The end of the day, you certainly didn't need my vote to pass it, obviously. This is, and I'm not an opponent of cities, formerly being a vice mayor of a city in my district as well. That one I had some problems with, as I do with some of the proposals that is before this committee. I'm not going to vote for every particular city, but this one deserves to pass on its merits.
Did you vote for Sandy Springs?
I did not.
Thank you. Do you
I-
consider
I
Sandy
vote-
Springs a community of interest?
I voted for South Fulton, which is their cityhood
Which
proposal.
failed 85% when it went to
I
the
don't think
people.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Any other questions for this Representative Mitchell? Senator Miller, please come forward and. Well, we're most appreciative. Check that mic, sir. The R mic, and make sure I've got the right button on. There you go.
My quiet voice.
Yes, sir. All right, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. You know, ladies and gentlemen, we've had several meetings on the various cities, and one of the things we've tried to do, it's a suggestion of people, is we try to get together. I think in the one hearing I attended, I heard Briarcliff and Tucker say that maybe they could get some things together, and that did not transpire. We're now at the situation we've got SB 270. You've got a substitute there in front of you, where we made some revisions. We met yesterday for about 2.5 hours, the people from Tucker and the people from Lakeside. And at the end of the day, what is different in the map that you're looking at here is really basic, is the area that I represent, which is, we took the Midvale Elementary area, which is on the right-hand side of your map, underneath the pink color there, and we took the Midvale Road area outside of 285. All of that's outside of 285. and took that out of there, out of the lakeside map. And we also took out the area south of North Lake Mall, inside 285, which is white, where you see the white parade inside 285. So that at the end of the day, we felt that this would certainly give Tucker more than enough revenue in order to become a city in its own. Had representatives from both sides there. Senator Henson was there with me, as well as the reapportionment people. When we went through this, based upon the districts that you're looking at, we still have the 5 districts. About 12,000 people per district is how it works out to be. I have agreed to what would be a future city of Tucker boundaries, what you're looking at here. We are in agreement with the Tucker folks of where we're going forward. Senator Henson, if we can't do anything this year, and it doesn't look like we may not be able to, has stated that he would bring a Tucker bill next year. I said if I get reelected, I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse at this point, that I would support that bill. I have supported every bill that we've had as respects cityhood. In fact, we have a bill over in the Senate right now that you all passed. I think it was like 164 to 4 or something like that. The city of South Fulton. And I've told Senator James, I think, who's going to carry that bill, that I will speak on behalf of those people. I feel very strongly about people's right to self-determination. I'm many things, but I'm not a hypocrite. And even though it was South Fulton, and by the way, I might note, too, in looking at whether it's Tucker or in this particular case, the Lakeside bill, this is not a Republican-dominated district. In fact, if you looked at statistics, the president did much better than my candidate, Mr. Romney. That's not what this is about. It's about self-determination. And so, yes, we got together on this, put it together. We actually worked things out, which was very encouraging to me. I appreciate the Tucker people, and I certainly appreciate Senator Henson's input. I really appreciate the reapportionment office for their patience with us. And the bottom line is we've got a city here that's ready to go. It's available for a primary on May 20th. And furthermore, if down the road, if it's Briarcliff that wants to be a city or wherever, and they can work out borders wherever they happen to be, I will support those cities. I feel that strongly about this. And, you know, there's talk about, well, we need a moratorium, we need this, we need that. I've lived in DeKalb County for over 30 years, since I've been down here 16 years. Every year DeKalb needs another year or two to get their act together. And what I'm telling you is the reason people are doing these cities, it's very simple. We want our roads paved, okay? We want code enforcement, okay? And by God, we want police protection. And now I'll get partisan on you. Since I've been here, these have been Republican-led initiatives.
1 minute, Senator.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I understand. The only time I've seen a Democratic bill pass out of here was the South Fulton one. That's the first time any of these people have ever voted for a city. So, you know, and some of these people live in cities and vote against new cities. And I got a hard time with that. So what I'm asking for is for you to pass this out of committee, okay, and go forward and get it on the rules calendar and give these, at this point, you know, 60,000 people, if you will, the opportunity for self-determination. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it.
Number 27, Representative Oliver.
Senator Millar, at the bottom of the La Vista precinct, which is set out in line 1581, there's a group of roads that adjoin Emory Properties and Clifton Road. And
Correct.
if I were to make an amendment, should your bill come for a vote, to exclude 4 of these roads that are adjoining the Emory property, would you have an objection to that? Those are folks that you may know have said fairly vocally they don't wish to be in Lakeside.
Representative, this is not any change from the prior map, okay? And to my knowledge, you haven't brought this point up to me before to do this.
We have talked.
So I will tell you this, I'll be happy to talk with you about it, but if it bill moves forward, I'd rather talk with you specifically about it and look at what you're saying.
So you don't want to accept an amendment for these 4 cities?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Streets.
What I'm saying is I will sit down and talk with you about it, and if you want to bring the amendment to the floor, you're welcome to do that. I don't believe you all do these structured. I don't think you do these bill structured. And I'd be happy to talk with you about it. But I just haven't seen what specifically you're talking about, okay?
Anything else, Representative?
No, sir.
Number 1, Representative Mosby.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, you mentioned Senator Henson being a part of the meeting. Did he agree to the changes?
Yes, he has.
Well, he told me he didn't agree with the map change, so I was kind of confusing.
Excuse me?
It's kind of confusing because he did tell me specifically that he didn't agree with.
Well, I would say to you, we agreed that he probably won't vote for the Lakeside agree if there's an agree, but what he will do is bring a bill next year for Tucker, and I've agreed to support it. I don't expect him to vote for the Lakeside bill if we do an agree, if it gets that far to the Senate. But he will bring a bill, he's told me, for Tucker next year, and he's told these people that as well. We sat there in the room, and I said I would support it. In fact, I'll sign it.
All right. And the people from Tucker are in agreement with, you're saying there's agreement. Who's the agreement with?
The people that I met with the leadership of Tucker that's been down here, and you have to give them credit, they've been down here campaigning for a long time. These are the people that have been down here, the representatives of the Tucker movement, for lack of a better term, Tucker 2014. They've told me that they're in favor of this, yes. Okay. We've come to an agreement, and quite frankly, if you look at what was done, it was taking away from the Lakeside map to the benefit of Tucker, the balance of it, yes.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Representative Aller.
Senator Millar, can you make a promise or a guarantee that the City of Lakeside is not going to acquire additional commercial properties after they possibly have a vote from their citizens by 100% rule or 60% rule?
I don't believe that I can bind a future city council.
I don't think you can either.
So I can't guarantee it. But I will say this to you: if this bill passes, this city will take effect at the end of the year. It's going to take them more than a year to get up and running and doing all the things you do in the first year of being a city. I don't believe that there's any plans at all to try to annex anything. And the first priority, again, if this happens and we come back here, I'm not going to try to take anything away from the proposed city of Tucker to the benefit of Lakeside at all. I've got no plans to do that. I told these people I'd support. I've seen what they want on their map, and I support that.
One final question,
Yes,
Mr.
sure.
Chairman. I think it's fair to say, Senator, that we and the cabinet delegations are getting different interpretations of whatever agreement is made. But the agreement is that, as you understand it, is that Lakeside goes forward and Tucker doesn't. And that's what you in essence say.
I'm told that Tucker could possibly go forward this year if there was a vote on a Tucker bill today. That's what I've been. Where are they? Yeah, that's what. If a vote was to happen today on a Tucker bill after this bill, and it goes over to the Senate, there's a possibility that it can go forward under a local bill and still be passed, and you could have two bills at one time. You cannot combine them into one city. You're prohibited from doing that. Because if you could do that, you might have seen Lakeside in the city of South Fulton.
Representative Jones.
I would like to just comment on the concern about commercial properties being taken, because that is a legitimate concern that we ran into when we created some of the cities in North Fulton, and we had very active cities adjacent to them that we were concerned would eat up what was left. I noticed that your 4 members of the new city council would be able to take action beginning December 1. I do think that if a city of Tucker went forward last year, you can, and we did this with City of Milton, you can go ahead and define the borders. And if we pass that bill quickly, it would be fairly difficult for the city of Lakeside to have sufficient time to go in and annex areas. I'm not saying it's 100%, but it would be
right. Yeah.
logistically difficult to go through the first of all, to get your zoning ordinances in place, which takes a while, and then to go through the zoning process of, or the ordinance process of annexing some commercial areas before Tucker's borders could be, and the borders can be set in the legislation that we pass and then ratified at the time of the referendum for Tucker. And I would suggest that the bill, if that is the will of the committee and the areas, to make sure that they do that to protect those areas.
I have no
of
problem
Tucker.
at all with that.
Any other questions for this witness? Chairman Powell.
I'm not suggesting that we do this, but if the issue is, or one of the issues is, concern about some annexation that might undermine another city's creation, could we not, and I don't know the answer, but could we not put into the bill that the power of annexation would not be available to that city for a period of 24 months?
I don't have a problem with that either. In fact, if I can give you an example to answer, I know when Dunwoody was created, there were people that lived where I live, wanted to go inside 285 and pick up territories, and I wouldn't extend the borders because the people down below then couldn't have a city. We wouldn't have Brookhaven because of the commercial area. So if you want to put a stipulation in here that for a period of time you can't do any annexation, and if it's legal to do it, I have no problem. I'll tell you what, I won't support any annexation. That's what you want to hear. But if you can put it in the bill, I have no problem with that. Now, I've been to judiciary. You all tell me what to do. Tell me what to do, and we'll do that. That's my amendment. However you want to do it, I have no problem. And maybe Mr. Oliver can help us with it. I don't know the answer on that, but I'm certainly amenable to it. To me, this is an opportunity for us to do 2 of these cities at the end of the day.
Just to interject, legislative council just informed me that we don't think we can do that because the annexation methods are provided by general law. So just to throw that in as a part of that discussion as you consider that.
I could be wrong, but we can pass legislation, Mr. Oliver can correct me if I'm wrong, where we supersede the facts of the types of annexation that Mr. Oliver talked about. We just did that in the Brookhaven-Chamblee situation, whereby they were prohibited from doing it by statute. So we could do that with a separate bill down the road. So I believe it's what we just did with Brookhaven and Chamblee. I don't know, but I'm just trying to figure out a way to do it. I don't know.
You can legislatively de-annex or
you can
annex.
legislatively de-annex. That's what we just did, I think, with Brookhaven and Chamblee.
Okay.
That's correct.
Still ongoing.
So we can do that. We can legislatively de-annex. We just did that, Mr. Chairman. So
Okay.
it could be done that way. And I would support that if I'm here.
Any other questions, Representative Jones?
I did want to clarify. You can, because I've actually done that up in our area. So, I mean, it sounds like you have a commitment to actively pursue de-annexation if that was a concern.
Well, what
in the
happened is,
city.
Chamblee took in 10,000 people,
Right.
and the commercial properties were to follow. That's correct.
Any other questions? Okay. I'm going to ask the members of the committee. I've heard from 2 of you that you have. Oh, Chairman Allen Powell's gone. I've heard from a couple of you that you have bills to present in other committees. It was the intent of Chairman Carter for us to vote on Senate Bill 270 today. Are there members of the committee who need to get out of here and get to other business? So, all right. Well, I'm going to deviate somewhat from what Chairman Carter asked me to do. We're still going to allow members of the delegation, the DeKalb delegation, to speak about these matters. But I think what we need to do at this time is take up this bill and see if there are any motions and what the will of the committee is in relation to Senate Bill 270. So at this time, do we have any motions on this bill? We have a motion? Second. And a second?
Substitute motion, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we have a substitute. Go ahead.
I move that LC 287127 ERS relating to the creation of Tucker be substituted for Senate Bill 270.
We have a motion second on that one. I believe we need to deal with that substitute motion first before we get to the main motion. So you all heard Representative Oliver's motion.
May I say 1 or 2 sentences in support of my substitute motion, Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
Chairman? We do recognize that Tucker is a city for all purposes with a business center and a CID and a community of interest that is very clear and historical. It has, in fact, made the best and most consistent case. Okay. And I believe this committee should substitute Tucker for Lakeside.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Number 29, Representative Kidd, I believe.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, just a side note. It's very difficult for some of us rednecks from South Georgia and mountain boys from the mountains to come to Atlanta and look at the map to decide the boundary lines when the delegations really don't get together, so to speak. And it boils down not so much on how what the boundary lines is, but it boils down to allegiances and so forth as to how we vote. And I would just strongly encourage the delegations to get together, really bring stuff back to us in the future.
All right. Representative Fleming.
Parliament inquiry, Mr. Chairman. Is
Yes,
it
sir.
not true that if we vote in favor of Representative Oliver's motion to substitute, we will in effect be killing Senator Miller's bill to create the city that he's brought to the Senate?
Representative Oliver.
I'd be happy to respond to that. I think that the opportunity for both Tucker and Lakeside to pass is still available to us legally. If, in fact, you only pass Lakeside today, you are, in effect, cutting that opportunity off. And I believe that the fairness, if you want to talk about fairness to these groups, we ought to give Tucker a chance. And I say that with all recognition that my city of Briarcliff has already been massacred in this process, and that Tucker is the only viable city to go forward with a fairly confident opportunity for the voters to vote yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right, let's deal with Representative Oliver's motion. You all heard the motion is to substitute the Tucker bill for the Lakeside bill. All in favor of Representative Oliver's motion, please raise your hand. 2, 3. All opposed? The nays have it.
Thank you, John.
All right, now we have a motion and a second. Number 9, yes, sir.
Just a comment before I do something. I don't think there's another person in this building down there that's more pro-city than I am. I don't like the idea that I've got 3 different sets of folks who want to be a city, and if I pick one right now, I don't think the other 2 have a chance, because when I look at the lines, they're a little bit confusing. I would like to see us take a little bit more time and work on getting, apparently I'm going to go with Briarcliff's been kicked out of the conversation, but getting the city of Lakeside and the city of Tucker, I'd like to see a little bit more work done on that. And I'm sitting here looking at a bill that they just put on my desk that says the city of Tucker. Have you got time to do it? I don't think so, but that's okay. And with that said, I'd like to table it and make a motion to do so.
Mr. Chairman, the Tucker people and the Lakeside people have agreed to that. I'm not questioning what you're saying, but I just make sure you understand. We have agreed to this together, that this is how we go forward. I'm not, and again, if you obviously are going to do what you want to do, but I just want to make that point perfectly clear, that we have agreed to this, and what we did, we took stuff away from Lakeside and put it in the city of Tucker. That's what we did for 2.5 hours yesterday, just so that you were aware of that. I just want to make sure you know that.
I saw the map this morning.
We have a motion and a second to table. Any discussion on that motion? All right, we have to call the question.
No discussion.
All in favor of the motion to table, please raise your hand. All opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's do that one more time to make sure I get the count right. All in favor of the motion to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That's not good.
Am I counting right? 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Okay, that's what I counted the first time. All opposed to the motion to table. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The motion to table carries 8-7.
Do you have a suggestion of what you want us to do, Mr. Chairman?
All right, we have a motion to adjourn.
There's not a time.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn, which takes precedence. Do we have a motion to adjourn? All right. This meeting is adjourned.